right, welcome to this edition of Morgan the Asked For podcast, January 17th, about 9 o'clock here. Kind of a different day, an exciting day for the podcast here. We here at Morgan the Asked For podcast would like to welcome listeners from Steve Shetler Media. I want to thank Steve for allowing us to be part of his lineup. Please follow Steve Shetler Media on Facebook and YouTube. It's a new venture that he's going into here in Southern Iowa. He's kind of based out of the Sigourney area, but he follows kind of all of Southeast Iowa and news and weather and sports and everything. So it's a good venture he's doing, and he's been. We've met a couple times here and talked, and it's a good thing, and we're going to try to do a little collaboration here. So just remember to follow him on Facebook and YouTube, and then also for the new listeners here that are listening to us for the first time. Besides on Steve Shetler Media, you can listen and follow us on any podcast forum that you listen to, but Spotify, iHeart, Amazon, Apple, Google are all, podcast feeds that you can listen to us on. And then here's one thing that we always do. If you rate us on your podcast player and take a picture of it, a screenshot, and then email it to us at morgantheaskforpodcast@gmail.com. with your address, I'll email you back a koozie with our logo on it. So for those of you that new listen to us, if you would like a koozie with our logo on it, we can get that to you pretty quickly here. I've got a box of them here I'd like to give out. So again, I'm Ryan Morgan, live in Oskaloosa. I teach in Ottumwa, and just kind of a sports guy. Coached many sports. I've done a little bit of radio. Went to Iowa State, follow the Cyclones in most everything they do. And then my co-host here, Trevor Voss, originally from Oskaloosa, but he is a salesman out west, living in Colorado now and travels the west. And he's more the Hawkeye fan and gives his opinion on different things. And I'll shove it over here to him so he can introduce himself, and then we'll get started here.
Yeah, Paul, thanks for Steve for giving us the opportunity. We appreciate it. So pretty exciting there. Ryan Morgan and I have known each other for quite a few years now. And like he said, originally from Oskaloosa, live in Colorado now, typically on the road about 200 days a year, combined with work and vacation. So usually I'm doing this out of a hotel. And again, tonight I am, as he can see me right now. Sometimes I get to do these from home, but tonight in Denver. And that's, I guess, I am the Hawkeye fan here. You're more the Iowa State fan. You're more the college football expert, if we want to call it that. I'm more the NFL expert, or NFL idiot, as I would like to call myself at times. So
Yep.
That's enough about me for now, though, at least.
Yep, absolutely. Obviously, the main topic is the NFL, coaching changes, playoffs, a few upsets, and then some, possibly as of today, some maybe, the biggest news might be non-changes in coaches. Obviously, number one topic really is the Cowboy-Packer game. And everybody's shocked that the Cowboys lost, but I would even say it's even worse. They were blown out. It was never a game. It actually got a little bit closer at the end than the Packers would have liked, but this game was never in doubt. Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb were never on the same page. And I was listening to some radio guys the other day, then the TV guys kept saying that they were off, and they were just off a step, and there was something going on. It's almost like the TV guys knew something was up, but couldn't say it publicly. Almost, I kind of made the joke the other day, kind of like Major League, or Vaughn and Dorn's wife, just kind of some joke, like something happened between Dak and CeeDee Lamb, but something was off. Dak was not good on the day, and we're going to get into him here in a little bit, a little more in depth. But what did you see besides obviously just being off, and then the Packers just going in there and really just they were the better team, and it really was never close.
First, I was borderline shocked, which doesn't happen very often in the NFL. I didn't see the youngest team ever since the merger going into Dallas. I think Dallas had won 15 or 16 straight at home over the last couple seasons. They had all the momentum. And first of all, Dallas didn't come ready to play. As you said, and the announcers pointed out, him and CeeDee Lamb were off. It looked like they were playing their first game together. And as you mentioned, a lot of times these announcers, they meet with the team a few days before. So they might have caught something, like you said. They may have heard some rumors or seen something. So it was shocking to see Dak and CeeDee be off that much. A lot of people are blaming McCarthy and Dak, which is rightfully so. Those are the two faces of the franchise besides Jerry Jones. But, into a little bit of defense of Mike McCarthy, and I've been critical of him on him before on here. Some of this is on the players too.
Yeah.
They didn't come ready to play, and you see a lot of people saying, well, he didn't motivate them and this and that. They're professionals. They should be motivated on their own. They're highly compensated. It's a combination, but I think the biggest issue is Dak's future contract, which I know we're going to get into eventually. But I predicted Dallas blowout last week on the podcast. The opposite happened. Green Bay was in control from the very first drive, and I couldn't be happier to be wrong. I've been wrong plenty of times, and this is a classic example of I'm happy to be wrong here.
Yeah, that's what we talked. And if you want to go back and listen to last week, we both picked the Cowboys to win the game, but neither one of us like the Cowboys, and we always laugh. And I don't know if you follow Stephen A. Smith or anything, but he just, some of his things were he just laughed. He didn't even have anything to say. And his laugh is very unique, and it's just him. And he always makes fun of the Cowboys and everything, and he just laughed, and it was really good to watch.
Yeah, it's the world versus Dallas. So if you're not a Dallas Cowboy fan, you're rooting against them. I got a coworker that's an Eagles fan. They lost, but I said, hey, at least the Cowboys are out of the playoffs. We all win when that happens.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean it's and we're getting to the point now where it's 28 years, so we're talking an entire generation. If you're a Cowboys fan, obviously 25 and under, you don't know them being good, really. I mean, here or there, but not in the playoffs. And, people my age, Cowboys were the team. I mean, 1989, when they had the number one pick with Troy Aikman, I'm 9 years old. They win their third Super Bowl in 1995. I'm 15 years old. That is just right in my wheelhouse. Where they went from really bad, drafted a quarterback number one, hired a new coach, got better each year, and then 3 championships in 4 years there. And, you just thought that was kind of the way it was. And then, the 49ers were a little bit before there, and then the 49ers came, just right after them a little bit. But it was Cowboys 49ers for about 10 years there.
Yeah, the 90s were the Cowboys were a big part of it. And they've never been bad. They've never been a dumpster fire the last 25 years. They're always a good, solid team. It's just when they get in the playoffs, they can't get it done. And Dak is now 2-5 in the playoffs. He looked, to me, and a lot of people brought this up too, he looked nervous or scared out there. And that's, if it was his second or third year, you might be understand. But he's been in the league long enough now that was really disappointing in Dak for whatever reason. And that probably leads us to our next part of this conversation where Dak's contract he's going into the final year of his contract. So his agent is talking with Jerry Jones, whoever else, trying to get an extension or a long-term deal done. And if Dak is like most quarterbacks or most players in sports, he's going to want to be the highest paid. And after that performance, if you're Dallas and we talk about Jerry Jones's age, is Jerry Jones willing to do a 4, 5, or 6 year deal between $200 and $300 million for Dak Prescott? Or does he have to swallow a tough pill and let Dak play out the final year of his contract and potentially let him walk? Because I don't know if Dak's going to play ball during negotiations.
No, he probably would sit next year, wouldn't he?
He could. I don't know if he would sit. He probably. I think Dak would play out the last year of his contract if he had to, because there would be a big market for him in the free agent market, wherever you want to rank Dak. 10 to 14 range in the regular season. He's around that range. There's going to be plenty of teams that need him. You think about Matt Stafford, Aaron Rodgers, and Kirk Cousins. One of them or multiple of them could be retired after the end of next season.
Right.
Plus all the other teams that need quarterbacks. You look at Carolina. Bryce Young doesn't look like he's going to pan out. If he has another bad year and Dak's a free agent, Panthers could offer him the bag. So I don't know what's going to happen, but if I'm Dallas, it's been long enough now. I can't make Dak the highest paid quarterback in history per year on average, even if it's a 4-year deal.
Do you try to draft a quarterback? Obviously they're not drafted high enough to get one of the elite quarterbacks, but do you try to get a Dak Prescott? I think Dak was a 3rd round pick. You may not be able to wait that long, but whatever they draft, 23rd, 24th, whatever they draft.
They kind of already did. I was going to throw this little nugget at you. Do you remember who they traded for last season?
They got Trey Lance, didn't they?
Trey Lance from the 49ers. I forget what they gave up.
Yeah.
Maybe it was a 4th or 5th round pick. It wasn't much. But, if they let Dak play out the final year of his contract next year, and
Let
then he
Trey learn
hits,
from him again.
then do you give Trey a season to start and see what happens, and then draft another quarterback if he's not it? I don't know if Jerry Jones has the guts to do that at his age, because Dak's good enough. You win a lot of games every year. He just can't get done in the playoffs. So, but I think what they do need to do is starting this year, rounds 3 through 7, and next year they need to draft a guy.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how you can give Dak Prescott a 5-year, $300 million deal. And if Dallas doesn't give it to him, somebody probably will on the free agent market.
And people do forget that Dak was a 3rd rounder, I believe. He was not the top.
I think he was 4th. He was 3rd or 4th. I think he was 4th.
Yeah.
But yeah, regardless.
But he stepped in and started from day one, right? I mean,
pretty much. Romo got hurt
Yeah.
early in the season
Yeah.
with that back injury, I think it was, and then Dak and Ezekiel Elliott went on that magical rookie run, and
Yeah.
it's just they've never really been able to match that since.
Right. And then the last thing, quarterback is the number one thing. If you look at all the teams left, they're all 1st-round quarterbacks except for Brock Purdy. So everybody can say, well, you gotta drafted a quarterback in the 1st round's tricky or whatever, but they usually are better.
Yeah, the scouts typically, it's not a perfect process, and there's so many misses. But when you look at that stat, I saw that too. Of 7 of the 8 quarterbacks remaining in the playoffs are all 1st-round picks. There's a reason they're 1st-round picks.
Yeah,
They have the best chance to succeed.
Yeah, Goff was number 1. Mayfield was number 1. I think those are the only 2 true number 1s, right?
True number 1s left, yes, I believe so. Of the remaining, yeah.
All right. Anything else with the Cowboys? Obviously we kind of already mentioned it. Let's just kind of quick review our picks from last week. Obviously we both picked the Cowboys. Obviously both wrong there. Chiefs and Miami. Flipping back here. I think we both had. Let's see here.
We both had the Chiefs.
Yep, we both had Kansas City. Just looking back here at my notebook here, my fancy, pretty notebook that I have.
Oh yeah, that looks like something a kid would have in school.
Yeah, that's exactly on it. I know you're shocked, but that's where it came from, right? Yeah, so we both picked the Cowboys. We both picked Kansas City. We both picked Buffalo, and then we both picked the Browns. We were both wrong there. We both
sorry for dragging you down on that one.
Yeah,
I went 4-2, and I had 2 different reasons I missed. Real quick, the Browns pick, I should have considered more how bad their defense has been on the road, and Joe Flacco had been turning the ball over some. That was a classic example of me betting with my heart, liking the story rather than the team. So that one was that's the one I'm kind of mad about. If you took me back in time, I would have picked the Cowboys 100 times out of 100. So that was just a flat out miss. But I thought I was on the right side there. So that's a little explanation. I had one I bet with my heart, one I bet with my head, and I was wrong on both.
Yep. And then we both picked the Lions. And it was really good to see the Lions in. And then you picked the Bucks and I picked the Eagles. So you won one more game than I did there. So yeah, so I went 3-3 and then you went 4-2, obviously. Let's go ahead and talk Bucks and Eagles. Eagles aren't good. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. I think Jalen Hurts is really hurt. And obviously they don't have anybody else that can do anything close to what he does. And there's something wrong with that team. And a month ago, this would not have been even in the idea box or framework. But I think Sirianni might get canned.
Definitely on the table. And the Eagles have shown throughout their history that they'll move on from coaches when they feel necessary. They moved on. Andy Reid was different. He was there a long time. I feel like it was time. It just wasn't working quite to the level that they wanted. They bring in Chip Kelly. Chip Kelly had a couple winning seasons there, and they got rid of him. Doug Peterson wins the Super Bowl. I think 2 years later, he's gone. Nick Sirianni was in the Super Bowl last year, and this year they lost their final 6 of 7, I think it was.
Yeah, I think 7 of 8 overall.
Yeah, and when you really look at it, losing both coordinators, especially Shane Steichen to the Colts, and you look at how well the Colts have done. Nick Sirianni doesn't call plays, and that's what a lot of people are asking, what's he do as a head coach? And a lot of people are saying the only thing he really does is just yell at people and yell at other coaches and yell at fans on the sideline. He's kind of a, he's kind of a clown on as a head coach. I mean, that's not typically how head coaches conduct themselves. So he definitely is on the hot seat. And my response is going to be the same response for a lot of these openings or potential openings. If you can get Harbaugh or Belichick, you have to consider it.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to. I mean, it's not quite like college because there's a little more rules and everything there, but you got to make an inquiry about both of them if they'd be interested. And if they are, you got to cut him loose.
Nick Wright asked a good question earlier this week in the show that he's on. He said if Nick Sirianni was a free agent coach, would any of the openings hire him?
I don't know.
I don't know either, but it's a good question.
Yeah,
So
it's not like Vrabel. Vrabel's going to get a job if he wants one. Now he's a guy that may not want one, and that's okay. But Vrabel will get hired if he wants to as a head coach. I believe.
Yeah, I believe that too. He's well respected enough in the NFL circles that he'll get a head coaching job if he wants one. There's enough openings right now, but any of these that you probably asked me about or potential ask me about, my response is going to be the same. If you can get Harbaugh or Belichick, you strongly have to consider it.
All right, so that was that one. Lions Rams, good game. Lions were just better. I not a Lions fan. Obviously, as a Bears fan, I'm not a big Lions fan, but it was good to see that place jacked, them win a game for the first time in 30 years at home. And then with a bonus, now they get another home game since Dallas lost. So it'll be jacked up. I think it's going to, we'll talk about the games coming up, but I think that's going to be a better game than you think because the Bucs impressed me, and Baker Mayfield's better than people think. He really is. He was the number one pick. He was a Heisman Trophy winner. He puts up the stats. He doesn't have the most wins, but he was with the Browns when the Browns were dysfunctional. They're less dysfunctional now, but the Browns forever have been straight up dysfunction. And he was at the end of that. And then they moved on, which is fine. But just right there. And then, obviously Kansas City, Miami. Kansas City just showed that they're better. Weather was atrocious there. And, just kind of what do you think about the, Eagles, Bucks, Lions, and Kansas City? And then I want to talk about the Buffalo game a little bit more on its own. But
Eagles, Bucks, I kind of expected that because again, I try to pay attention to trends for teams heading into the playoffs. The Eagles felt like a dead team walking to me. I didn't expect them to get blown out like they did by any means. I thought it'd be a close game, but that one kind of went the way I thought. Chiefs, I felt like Chiefs were probably the easiest pick of the weekend.
yeah.
They're more experienced. The Dolphins didn't do good really against any of the really top teams this year. And when it's 40 below, I forget what the exact record is, but people have probably seen it. Mike McDaniels and the Dolphins just aren't that good.
Yeah.
They're from Miami. I mean, they like the warm weather. That's pretty clear. Tua is not a big, strong arm guy that can go out there and overcome the elements when it's that cold. So that one didn't surprise me at all. And as far as Lions and Rams went, Lions were better. It was a good thing they had Laporta. He had some big plays in that game. A lot of the rookies, they've hit on 3 straight draft classes. The Rams are a team that's up and coming. Look out for them next year. But I was happy for the Lions. I mean, I'm rooting for them a lot. That's the team I want to come out of the NFC just because they've never had a winner. And then, yeah, you wanted to get into the Bills Steelers one, right?
Yeah, let's quick to the Browns Texans. That was a blowout. Also, the Browns just like you kind of touched on it. Their defense isn't very good. And then, that's one of the better jobs that someone's done in a rookie year as a head coach. DeMeco Ryans and CJ Stroud. And the Panther fans just have to be pulling out their hair, not picking Stroud over Bryce Young.
Yeah, absolutely. DeMeco Ryans or Dan Campbell's probably going to win Coach of the Year now. I forget when the exact votes stopped going in, but with DeMeco Ryans beating Kevin Stefanski, he probably gets the nod, in my opinion, just out of that. But yeah, that game, that was a little bit surprising, though. A rookie head coach and a rookie quarterback playing that well. I know they were at home, but for their first game, that first playoff game, I should say. That was really impressive.
Yep. And then, Buffalo, Pittsburgh had to move the game the day, not move the actual place, move it because of the blizzard or whatever. Then I saw today that they must have another one today because the hockey team, the Sabres, had to move their game. They're used to getting lots of snow, but when it was actually the day of the game, it just wasn't feasible to play. And everybody's like, well, they should have a dome, and they're getting ready to build a new stadium that doesn't have a dome. It's kind of like the Hard Rock Stadium in Miami and Old Texas Stadium and some of those where there's kind of a canopy. It's not open. It's not like Kansas City where it's all the way open. And ultimately, I don't think it was because of the stadium. I don't know how anybody would have got there, like truly just got to the game. That was the issue. And obviously, that doesn't matter if it's a dome or not a dome in Buffalo. That's always going to be an issue, and there's nothing you're going to do about it, whether there's a dome or not.
Yeah, you see a bunch of doofuses online complaining that the players are too scared to play, and that had nothing to do with it. The problem is ambulances, fire, and tow trucks are going to have a tough enough time getting around in general, let alone with 70,000 extra people going to the game. I don't know how many vehicles that is, but 20 to 30,000 extra vehicles on the road if
Yeah.
people are carpooling and stuff. So that's the point. I mean, it's going to be tough enough for the hospitals to get people, with medical issues going on or putting out fires or things like that. Then when you add in 70,000 extra people at a game trying to get to and go from, that's the issue.
Right. And then, it's funny where they hire local people to shovel and everything else like that, which is awesome. And you see them with no shirt and they're having fun. And they should. That'd be awesome. If I lived in a town like that and wasn't doing anything else, it'd be fun to shovel out the stadium. That's happened in Chicago. It's happened in Green Bay. But yeah, so and then, just kind of last thing with the NFL here before we move on to the coaches. Did you see that somebody asked um, Todd Bowles in Tampa how they would deal with the weather in Detroit today this
Yeah,
weekend?
I saw the headline and I saw his response, like they've been playing in a dome for however many years or
Right. He
something.
goes,
But I didn't hear the audio of it.
yeah, just, they asked, how is the weather going to affect it? What happens if that? It was almost like they were going to move the game because the weather's so bad. And yeah, he came back with, you do know they play in a dome, right? I mean, it was just kind of a like, am I hearing this even question right? But it is, some
Yeah.
people just don't understand. Yeah, I mean, it's probably cold and snowy in Detroit. I mean, no doubt about it. But, actually inside the dome, it's obviously going to be 70 degrees or whatever it is. And it's going to be absolutely perfect. So, um, with them being from Tampa inside playing, it's going to be no difference. Be absolutely perfect, no wind or anything.
Yeah, and we'll make our picks. I know you mentioned you think this game will be closer than a lot of people think. I do too, but yeah, I mean the weather's gonna be fine as long as people can get to and from the stadium. It's gonna be in a dome. So yeah, I did see that was asked. So that reporter, whoever that was, is probably kicking themselves right now for that one.
Absolutely. All right, so let's go ahead and let's pick um, for this week. This week's game. Let me flip to the new page here so I can write them down. Um, let's just
First
go.
one is Texans and Ravens.
Yep, Texans Ravens. This is the rookie quarterback, the rookie coach versus the Super Bowl champion coach and John Harbaugh. And then, Lamar Jackson probably going to win the MVP, multiple time MVP if he wins this year, but just struggled in the playoffs. Can he turn it around? What do you think? I'll let you pick first here.
I'm going to pick the Ravens, but I'm going to say something here, and it's going to apply to this game and then the next one we're going to talk about, which is 49ers Packers. Ravens and 49ers had the buys. And I'm interested to see how both teams come out in this instance, specifically the Ravens, their first two drives of the game. Are they rusty? Did the too much time off hurt them, or do they come out, because you script your plays typically the first two
Yep.
drives. Do they come out and move the ball, get some points, or do they struggle? And if they struggle, it's going to be a ball game, I think. But if they come out and move the ball up and down the field on the Texans, I feel pretty confident that the Ravens are going to win.
Okay, so you're going to pick the Ravens. No to that. And I'm going to pick the Ravens too, but I think this game is going to be one heck of a football game. And it's one of those, I'll almost be glad to be wrong. I like CJ Stroud. I really, really do. he's just kind of proven it, and we'll see if his career keeps going. But this year, he plays with so much poise and his home life growing up. His dad's been in jail almost his whole life, and so what he's overcome, and obviously there's been special people around him to make him able to do this, and then just him himself, making sure that he's doing the right things. That's impressive. And then D'Amico Ryans, he's off the Kyle Shanahan tree. He's won football games with San Francisco, and I'm interested to see Lamar. He's kind of like Dak. He won a lot of football games, but he's not done it in the playoffs yet. We'll see.
No, yeah, the Texans are interesting. It feels like this is going to be the end of their run, but yeah, Dak is, or excuse me, Lamar going to win his second MVP most likely this year. Now he's got to start winning in the playoffs, and this is the first step. So I would think the Ravens win, but again, I'm really interested in the first 2 or 3 drives, see how they look. I think that's going to tell us a lot about the game.
And they rested people last week of the season, correct? So they haven't played for really 3. It's going to be 3, almost a month of playing a meaningful football game.
Yep, same as the 49ers, basically.
Yep.
Which we're getting
and that will be, people don't understand, and we talked about a little bit at the end of the baseball season, how routine oriented these guys. Yes, if you're hurt or injured or bumped and bruised, it's great to not play for a few weeks. But if you're healthy and you're ready to go and able to do all your work that you're used to doing on a Monday, a Tuesday, a Wednesday, and then all of a sudden you have 2 weeks where you're not doing that routine, and then all of a sudden you got to do that routine again because now it's time to play. No matter how much you try to stick with the routine and you do the same things, you just don't. I mean, it's just inherent, and coach gives you an extra time off. Those couple weeks you're not studying that extra hour because you're resting. You're trying to get that extra hour of sleep, whatever it is that you're trying to do, or you take your kids on a 2-day vacation real quick to go back to see grandma and grandpa, because you had an extra day off for 2 days. Just things like that happen, and they should happen. It's life. But it is your responsibility as a pro and everything to turn it back on. But some teams have a hard time doing that.
Yeah, younger teams, most coaches say younger teams, they want to keep playing consistently. Right. Older teams with veterans kind of know how to flip the switch, if you want to call it that. So for the Ravens and the 49ers, the first 2 or 3 drives is really going to tell us a lot about the game, I think.
One question with the Ravens, are they very hurt or banged up? Because the 49ers were. Like McCaffrey was nagging some injuries. Debo's been nagging some injuries. Ayuk had sat a game or 2 throughout the season. So I think for them, one, they've been pretty good at, they're more of a veteran team, but they also had some nagging injuries. Nothing that was going to keep anybody from playing, but those extra couple of weeks, like McCaffrey's calf, that definitely is going to help.
Yeah, the Ravens have had a lot of injuries this year.
Yeah,
just like they do every year, it seems like, but they overcome them. Unlike the Chargers, a lot of people joke about. And I think they're going to get Mark Andrews back this week too. Their tight end and their backup tight end's been doing really well, so they are going to probably have a 2-headed monster at tight end. Yeah. Odell, Zay Flowers, so they should win this game. I mean, I would be surprised if they lose to a rookie quarterback and coach, but these Texans do look a little bit different than most rookie quarterbacks and rookie coaches from their first year.
Yep. And then, so now we kind of touched on it, but 49ers, Packers again, we've said it, youngest team in the playoffs since the merger, correct?
Yep.
And, it's not a rookie coach and a rookie on the field, but it's, like they said in the broadcast, when LaFleur went to Green Bay, he kind of had to tailor his offense to Aaron Rodgers, and he should. Hall of Famer, one of the best quarterbacks of all time. This is more his offense, and you're seeing it being effective where it's more scheme. It's not all about the quarterback. But Jordan Love in the last half of the season is one of the best quarterbacks in the league. This game, I mean, I think the 49ers are just better, so I'm going to pick the 49ers. But if I'm the 49ers, you cannot overlook this team. They're good. They're young, but they're good.
They are, and I have the same vibes about this game as I did the Dallas game. So now I'm picking the 49ers as well to get that out of the way, but it just feels like, I don't know that this Packers team, the second half of the season, you said it, Jordan Love is playing like a top five quarterback in the league. It's a total turnaround from the first half of the season, how he's playing. I feel like this is going to be too much for the Packers to overcome. But again, I thought that last week. So who knows with this one? Again, if the 49ers come out right away or moving up and down the field, I think they'll probably take control. But if they don't, I mean, this could be a game. And I'll say this for any of the underdogs uh, that are on the road this week, specifically the Texans, the Packers, and the Bucks. You want to be within 10 points or less going into the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
Don't make a ton of mistakes in the first half. Stay in the game and hopefully get to the fourth quarter within a score or two at most. And then the pressure kind of flips to the home team.
Yeah. Can the Packers kind of reverse course? You know, a couple of years ago, the Packers were the number one seed. 49ers were the younger team, you know, didn't have the all-star quarterback and went into Green Bay and won against Aaron Rodgers and kind of in a big upset. Can the Packers flip script? I sure hope not. Obviously, as a Brock Purdy guy, I'd love to see him get a Super Bowl. But just a little bit of trepidation there in going, you know, 100% confidence, but probably about 90% confidence. They're the better team, but the better team doesn't always win.
No, and I'm in the exact same spot because when I saw this matchup, all the thoughts that I had in my head were the exact same thoughts I had about the Dallas game. So, I mean, if anyone listening, you may want to take a flyer on the Packers.
Yeah. All right, and then let's go the other one there, the Lions and the Bucks. You know, I'm going to go with the Lions, home team, kind of almost team of destiny ish. It opened up for them to host another game. They're good. Jared Goff, people forget he led the Rams to a Super Bowl. They lost, but he played in the Super Bowl with the Rams. And then they just didn't think it was quite enough, so they traded him. And really, it's worked out for both teams. Rams got to another Super Bowl and won it. The Lions have been getting better with him since he's been there. This is their best team yet. But Baker Mayfield's also a number one quarterback. And, you know, here in the Midwest, obviously we see the Lions on TV. We don't get Tampa on TV much here. So just haven't seen much of them, but they really impressed me the other day against the Eagles.
They did. This is a big game for the Lions, and real quick, and my pick is the Lions in this one. The Lions run defense. I don't think the entire season I read they haven't allowed a rusher to gain over 70 yards, an individual rusher to get over 70 yards all season. That probably means the Bucks are gonna have to throw it a lot. Good and bad news is the weakness of the Lions is the secondary. They have a Super Bowl caliber offense, in my opinion, on all levels. They have a top 10 quarterback in the league right now. They have the second ranked O line. They have two really good running backs. They have a star at tight end, a star receiver, and other good playmakers. It's the back end of their defense that can be had, but I do think the Lions win this one. One quick thing though, if the Packers upset the 49ers and the Lions win, could you imagine the drama that would be? That would be Green Bay at Detroit to go to the Super Bowl.
I know.
And the Lions for their entire existence have been pretty bad. And their nemesis has been basically everybody in the division, but mostly the Packers. And that would make for some big time drama. Lions to get to the Super Bowl, they'd have to go through Green Bay, who beat them earlier this year at Thanksgiving.
Right. Yep. And that actually is kind of what turned the Lions around, was that win at Detroit on Thanksgiving. You know, and Green Bay's been playing way better since Thanksgiving. And then, you know, the Chiefs and Bills. This is probably the best game on paper. You know, obviously closest spread, everything else like that. First time in Mahomes' career that he's going on the road, which is amazing. This isn't like year 1 or 2. This is year 6. And this will be his first game on the road. You know, obviously the weather's not going to be great, but he just played in bad weather. They practice in Kansas City. So I don't think the weather's going to be a factor because it's really the same as Kansas City. And it really is just Josh Allen versus Patrick Mahomes. Will Allen make mistakes? Will Mahomes make mistakes? And then, you know, Chiefs, will they catch the football? I mean, that's really what it comes down to.
This is by far the toughest game to pick of the
Oh
playoffs
yeah,
so far. And I went back and forth. I could go either way. So it's a total
yeah,
coin flip to me. I was going to pick the Chiefs, but then I saw a stat that the Chiefs defense at home compared to on the road is a big difference. At home, they're allowing 57% completion percentage by opposing quarterbacks. On the road, they're allowing almost 65. At home, 7 TDs, 7 picks. On the road, they're allowing 12 TDs and 1 interception. And last one, passer rating. At home, they're only allowing the 72 passer rating. On the road, it's 93.8. So their defense is it's kind of like the Browns in a way. And the Bills are on this winning streak that they've been on. I think Allen and Mahomes are 3-3 all time against each other, but the Bills are 0-2 in the playoffs against them.
yep.
This this feels like, I don't know. I could go either way, but I'm picking the Bills. Total coin flip.
Okay, and I am gonna go the Chiefs, and it is just
I want to change my pick already.
it is just
That's
a
how
good.
tough this one is for
Oh
me.
yeah, I mean it absolutely is. I mean it really. I mean I think after the first quarter we'll kind of know who should win this game. I think you'll kind of see if someone's pressing, or like you said, if the Chiefs defense just isn't up to the task. Um, or Mahomes hits a receiver right in the hands and they drop it. It's gonna be one of those days. Um, it's just hard to bet against Patrick Mahomes because he can do so much, almost like willing his team, whether it's a scramble or just some miraculous play. If it needs to be done, he'll do it. But Josh Allen has that same ability with that 52-yard run the other day. He's
Mhm.
got some of that same thing, but then he makes bonehead plays too. That he'll throw a pick in the end zone and, you know, like, what the heck are you doing? Just get a field goal. But you
If
kind of
you're a
live with that.
conspiracy theory person, you think the Chiefs and Lions, that was my Super Bowl pick before the season because it'd be Taylor Swift versus Eminem.
That would be great. And that was great watching the game where they went and got Eminem and, he talked about it and, did the lead in and everything. Because the Lions fans are just, anybody, really my age, we kind of remember Barry Sanders at the tail end of, at the beginning of his career where they were good, but we remember him just being on awful teams, from about 94 to 2000. They weren't good. Now they were pretty good 91, 92, kind of was them in Dallas, were kind of the two teams and they just couldn't get by. They beat them one year. That was their